So I'm at the gym and let me slow down. I am sweating profusely and I feel like I'm in a critical state. I have a shortness of breath. They're basically suffocating me. My legs feel very weak. They're screaming in my head. Like it's a lot of talking all at once to blend in with the background. And it's obvious they're in my head talking. They're terrorists talking in my head, and they're Egyptian American Muslims. And basically, they don't want anyone to say, if I were to ask, if they hear what I hear, that they don't, and then to hear that response over and over again. And what's wonderful is I don't have to ask. There's the camera. So, all the reasons why they don't want to traffic me, because any one of these people, if they heard what I'm hearing in my head, would have called the cops immediately. And then they're playing with my body's vitals and basically putting me in a critical state, so that but then they right when they know I'm at my breaking point, they'll stop. So all my vitals are turned back to normal when the ambulance gets here. And that way, when they check, they can say you're fine. Then of course they say it's obvious it's in my head. It eliminates everything else so that they can say I'm having it's my episode, like a schizophrenic episode. They make me throw up, make the acid come up in my stomach. They make my muscles tight. It's just like ongoing attacks using the telepathy weapon. They're talking in my head. They're Egyptian American Muslim terrorists. And these ones in particular have said they've murdered kids. They have murdered kids. He's saying, haha, look, I'm slowing you down by making this video. But it's critical that I make these videos. So, like I said, they'll never ever be anywhere in my surroundings because they're screaming in my head that they've murdered kids. And there were several individuals that have died in my circle of friends or extended network, where they were investigating and no one knows the cause of the death of these individuals or saw it coming. Bernadette Orozco being one, David Basile, Daniel Atkins, and the girl that was with him, CK, CJ, Thomas. Jerry just decided to walk into the ocean and drown himself. He used to work for my uncle Alfred. Unexplained would be Florence Joyner Jr., who just suddenly dropped from a heart attack but had perfect medical records. Who else? Dr. Georgie also was in great health. And who else? Kiro Shady. He basically suffocated to death from fluid buildup, which I can tell you they can do. I'm actually going to post pictures of my legs And I'm sure they can do it to any of your organs. Because I mean, skin is an organ. So, what else? They have said there, no explanation for, who else? There's so many people. There was a kid in Tesoro who committed suicide. God, give me a second. This girl, Miriam, whose parents both passed away 20, 30 years ago. And one of them, well, they were in a car accident. The whole family was coming back from a trip, and the car got stuck under a truck. And anyways, the car caught on fire. So everybody managed to get out except for their mom, who ended up burning in the car. And her dad, from being so shocked, had an instant heart attack and dropped and died on the spot. Who else? Who else has passed away? They had, God, there are other people. Those are who I can remember for now. But did I say I said David Basile? They were found like 2, 3, 5 days later. And these terrorists talking in my head are making claims that I am a drug addict and that the cause of my death is drugs or some, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. I guess they want to traffic me into some drug house where everyone's obviously consuming. And I mean, under what instance would they claim? And then saying that there was no one there selling. So whoever had sold the drugs to whoever had it that was in the house they want me trafficked to, to say, well, everyone can consume. That's why we didn't feel it to be a need to investigate Renee or to call on Renee. I guess. Wouldn't they have to report that too? Like a whole house doing drugs? I mean, it's in my house. It's in a house. It's not public endangerment or indecency, or what would that fall under? I don't know, I guess I'd have to check the laws on that. But I would assume you can, as long as you're not outside. And to say the voices that we all heard, no one wanted to report because there are no cameras. I mean, because they're all on drugs. I'm sure with some kind of criminal history. And basically, rather than to traffic people to, or not traffic people, but to spy on everyone and, I don't know, break the laws governing over these telepathy technologies, I would assume. um, that they were just making sure to further investigate to see if they can get a name on the person selling the drugs. And what else can I think of? And then that being the cause of my sudden death while they're investigating me, and no one saw it coming, or to argue that I have the right not to go seek medical attention because they keep saying prescription drugs are, they're trying to say if I go get treated by a psychiatrist, people are going to think I'm a drug addict. And to go seek alternative methods. And they've said they'll take your kids from you if you call the cops and tell them you hear us in your head and the things we've said. What else? Yeah, just trying to instill all this fear and nonsense. So, yeah, this is basically one of the I'm basically an entry point, or like an actual name named in a much larger quote unquote investigation by terrorists talking in my head. And everyone basically caught in the net of all the people that it permits them to surveil, basically is up to I wouldn't say it's their discretion unless it's absolutely deemed necessary, because the AI is so sophisticated that it will scan through. It's a national security surveillance, it's this technology, this weapon, this telepathy weapon, is the way national security protects its borders and its secrets from spies. And these terrorists managed to get permissions to use it, and even worse, to camouflage and manipulate the records involved, so that they can launder money, and so that they can basically remain in, or so they can make their way to a place of power. But the problem is they don't know how to block it. They don't know how to they didn't discover this technology. They don't have access to the records. Lots of weak points for these terrorists talking in my head. What else? They can't block it. Yeah. And because of all the crimes they committed, or all the deaths, the unexplained deaths that have occurred, no one of the elites is willing to conduct any business with them, because they're saying there's a lot of suspicion behind their investigations. And so basically these terrorists talking in my head are trying to prove that no, in fact, people do commit suicide. drugs can kill you, because there are some of them that are still, I guess, undiscovered, because these are, what they do is they go through different embassies, and the country that permits, basically takes complaints from these terrorists who gather police reports, and complaints from the Council of American Islamic Relations, will take it down, say we have rights to investigate, and then whoever it is argues on their behalf, shows them the evidence, and then these terrorists get to sit behind these computers that are connected to this huge network, which has, it basically reads, scans, and codes every piece of matter, space, and, I mean, we're in space, but here on our planet and in space, I mean, to make sure we're not going to get hit by a meteor, to, like, the weapon is obviously, it's for national security and for NASA. It wasn't a means for terrorists to, or it's not here for individuals to use as at their discretion. So anyways, so the terrorists are trying to basically come out with the records, to clear their names, because their whereabouts are known, their names are known, their ethnicities, like, I mean, it's all been discovered. It's just, these are the final records, and basically it's a make or break for them. So if they can break down the victim of these technologies that's being investigated to go do drugs and actually fear law enforcement, fear medical professionals, stay clear from security cameras because they're afraid of being watched. Okay. Use different gaslighting tactics. One, calling them names and abusing them and torturing them to a point where they're so sensitive that they cannot decipher what is a normal response from someone who doesn't really understand what's going on in their head, and to start assuming that, and then they'll start playing with their heads, the terrorists talking in my head who are suffocating me right now, to believe that that person is in on it and doesn't want to let them in on what they're doing. So to further isolate these poor victims and drug them and rape them, and they call them ugly, they'll make their hair fall out, and what they're attempting to do is get them to argue that they're adults, this is a free country, who's going to judge them, look at Hollywood stars wearing nothing but bikinis and rapping, without, some of them, without having gone to school, and that they can do it too, and that they'll say things like, the terrorist talking in my head, like, I'm burning you, I'm hurting you. So to try to get me to say, no, you're not. Like, basically, I can handle this when I clearly can't. when they do stuff like that, I'm clearly lisping. That is out of my control. I can't, this isn't something I'm fighting. These are actual damages caused to my brain from the weapon, or alterations to my brain, which over long periods of time can cause damage because it's a form of fire. It's just invisible. It's a frequency, and it's at very high speeds. And anyway, too much exposure starts to what's that word she always uses? Manifest in forms that are obvious, you know. Too much intoxication of the radio frequency damages organs, brain shrinkage, hair loss, vision, impaired vision, speech impediments. It can cause damage to organs. Just that list goes on, and can deplete you of your body, keep it so focused on fighting, and it looks like autoimmune disorders because it's not present when they're testing it for it in the blood. But what are the antibodies that your body produces to fight them off. And so it starts to manifest. And they've been doing this to me for 7 years. My hair's fallen out by the chunks. I have aged tremendously. My skin, being an organ, is actually injured. These are injuries causing me to look aged. Aged according. They say age, but age actually means injured. The terrorist talking in my head used the word aged as a form of manipulation to get you to argue again and make you emotional and not self-aware that you're actually being injured. These are actual injuries. What they're doing are their assaults using a telepathy technology. What else? And that list goes on and on. I don't know what to say. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. I am not irresponsible. I am a great mom. I'm a great daughter. I'm a great friend. I am genuine, generous, and there's no way that they'll ever get the best of me. I'm done. Thank you, God. Running from, chasing my tail, really. Trying to figure out what in God's name are they doing and what are they after. I have completed my research and I've done a lot of deep thinking in regards to their behavior and their attempts to manipulate me, and to understand the underlying reasons as to why. So, I'm here to discuss it to the best of my ability while under these conditions, and while they're playing with and manipulating my brain chemistry and normal processes. and making it clear, hopefully over time, the bits of information that make sense out of these videos will all be put together, and there will be a bigger picture, a clear, bigger picture of what I've been trying to say all along, and ultimately help the U.S. government and all the entities involved with wanting to persecute. See what I mean? That's them. And they're talking religion persecute. That's why I keep saying they're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists talking in my head. Prosecute the terrorists talking in my head. They live in California. Their parents, like mine, are immigrants or, well, with now citizenship, and have lived in the United States, had kids here. So these are U.S. citizens, but they're Egyptians. And this organization is consumed of families of them. Not all Egyptian. There are different Middle Eastern countries involved to help disguise their records. So they work in syncly to disguise them, and they hash out the monies made behind closed doors. And so there are several, but the one that I'm well aware of are Egyptian American Muslims, or she said concentrated. We'll say concentrated. So the terrorists out here are only Egyptian American Muslims, and there's several more that are also trafficking and abusing and torturing other victims like myself. So they're their own entity alongside other terrorist organizations from different Middle Eastern countries that ultimately want to take power and rule over the oil mines, the gold, the silver, the mines where they dig out diamonds, and so on and so forth, and to speak on the behalf of all of their citizens, including South Africa. So, and not the country, I'm talking about the entire continent, the southern half of Africa. So, yeah, I just, they're here. I'm in critical condition. Yet I'm still pushing because at this point, I'm like, this isn't a way to live. And either force that piece of shit to do what he's been doing so that the records are clear, or continue down my path, push him till he actually does it, him and his family. There are several of them, or scare him, continue down my path and scare them, hopefully straight, so that their kids, while they're still young and not inheriting terrorist money, are also named terrorists in this ring of psychopaths. So they also have a chance. And also, obviously, for my kids who come first and foremost in my life, and for their safety, for their futures, for their futures, because I love them. Unconditionally. I want nothing for them but to feel like they're protected and loved, despite what it seems like. So, they may be feeling insecure because of my openness about hearing the voices, and feeling, that in the future, but this is really all for their protection, because, like I said, there are entities out there that really want to, they're done. They want to sentence these terrorists talking in my head to death, and they need a record that's clear, that provides the evidence. So here I am, and I want them to use it against these terrorists, because there's no way in hell. They're psycho. They're serial killers. They've committed genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, crimes of aggression. He's suffocating me right now. Terrorism. They have suicide bombers. Like I said, they keep telling me to kill myself, that my daughter's going to commit suicide is what they say. In my head, they've said that we're going to kill ourselves in my head. They have said that he'll decapitate me or my daughter using this weapon, and he'll frame someone or traffic someone to do it, while he sits behind these telepathy weapons and convict whoever it is. And I don't know, they just keep going on and on about all the crimes that they can get away with using this telepathy technology to obviously for the past 7 years it was to see if they can train me like I'm some kind of dog into this self-sabotaging behavior. What was I going to say? To train me. Now it's more to instill fear. But ultimately, they're talking in my head. This isn't a gun to my head where it's like the guy is holding me hostage, and if he runs to the bathroom, or, assuming he leaves me in a locked room, for example, there's still opportunity to escape. He's talking in my head. They're talking inside my head. So, at any point in time, they can do whatever they want. They're terrorists. They're Egyptian, American Muslims, and the women. Okay? So I make it very clear, are responsible for supporting them, for cheering them on, to continue this way. They're responsible for, they're the ones that are promoting all of this, because they don't want to face life sentences, which would have been minimal in comparison to the sentences they actually want to give them. The government wants to give them for the crimes they've been committing. And so they will sit there and tell the men talking in my head to suffocate me, to make my hair fall out. Then they'll say it's fucking critical. They'll make me go cross-eyed, call me ugly over and over again in hopes that I'll get so desperate I'll go sleep with the first Joe Schmo and catch a venereal. I mean, that could be. I mean, who knows? That could be the end for me. What else? Although I think anyone and everyone I encounter, when I encounter them, it pulls up their profile. So, if in fact, unless it was unreported, and in which case, that person it's not in their record. Use this with this AI technology that they're using. It's not recorded in the record because it either wasn't tested for, or the tests were paid for, and they're private, and whoever it is. Can they request to destroy them? No, they can't. I mean, if they just go on not knowing, and they're just not knowing until myself, if in fact I were to encounter someone like that and be that irresponsible, to catch some type of disease, and I'm the one who discovers it. So, yeah. Anyways, I've been here for a little over an hour. I wanted to run and do the Stairmaster, but I was playing with AI, and again, they're suffocating me. They don't want me working out to my optimal abilities, and just sorry. This is so much more serious than anyone understands, and it is my responsibility to bring it forward, because no one else can do it on my behalf. No one hears them. No one knows, and the government it has our government is they have their ties with all countries to keep the peace and uphold the ultimate laws of the land and what have you, and to make sure that things are being conducted in a fair and an open and obvious environment. And so unless there is concrete evidence that these terrorists are they're actually trafficking people with these technologies, they can't come out and breach the contracts between these countries. These countries are supplying oil, they're supplying gold, they're supplying the metals and precious stones and all of the resources that we need for communication and transportation, and our basic needs. So it's they don't unless one of us victims of these terrorist crimes is one of us comes forward and is able to basically weed through or decipher the actual agenda of these terrorists. The U.S. government, not to say their hands are tied, because they are doing everything they possibly can. I mean, they are suing each other. They are, like everything possible, and defaming the name of each other to grant access to give the courts access to the records necessary to bring these terrorists forward. And you just don't understand the wholeheartedness and the purity of their intentions. They are so sweet, and they are intellects, and it's not like it hasn't been said a million times. I couldn't even. I'm with what's going on. There's no way I could say better than some of these other people that have had the platform to really explain the depth of their love and appreciation and respect for these people. So, but to the best of my ability, I'm going to say, wow. These people are wonderful. The people running our country and the entertainment industry. I love you guys so much. You do so much for everyone. And I'm hoping that I can most definitely be someone to help bring forward these terrorists, these serial killers, these are far worse than Hitler's. What would be the right word? I couldn't tell you. They're playing with my head, and I can't remember. I'm so illiterate now because of the brain damage. But these are some really disgusting, dirty, low down, ruthless scum of the earth, psychotic, barbaric people I have anyone could have ever encountered. These bitches are fucking filthy. I want them sentenced to death, and there is absolutely nothing on the face of this planet that'll stop me from saying what they're doing to me, what I'm experiencing, what I'm hearing, to protect my kids. There's nothing that I won't do to protect my kids. I don't care how many times they have told me over and over not to discuss hearing them in my head. I want it to be known that the terrorists talking in my head, especially the women who will sit there and say, get the fucking picture, after their men will abuse me, make my hair fall out, make me lisp, retard me. I was talking to my daughter's tutor last night, and I was having stroke after stroke. I couldn't utter a word, and he just knew I was struggling to communicate. And I'm struggling right now. It might not seem like it, but listen to the words that I'm using. They're so basic. It's not a 40-year-old woman like myself should have a much larger vocabulary bank. It's not like this is with my family's background of entrepreneurs and lawyers and doctors and business owners and musicians and entrepreneurs and investors. Like this isn't how could this be? I'm not talking to your average. It's not even there. I don't even know if there is a such thing as an average Joe, but I'm not talking to people that are children that are, I have to talk to them this way all the time. These are from the attacks of the telepathy weapon. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists, and they'll continue to cause me stroke after stroke while I'm attempting to drum up business, while I'm trying to connect with someone. They want me looking angry rather than sad, so that it doesn't stir the emotions of the other person to want to get involved in my life. What they want is for them to feel repulsed by me and to avoid me. And so a lot of the conversations, it's not even a conversation, they're attacks. These are all assaults, but are very, they're violent in nature, and they cause you to want to defend yourself. So I'm constantly saying, you bitches are going to get sentenced to death. Fuck you. You guys are going to die in the worst ways. And so anyone overhearing me say such things, especially if they don't know, like my neighbor just the other day heard me, so I have to go apologize to him because I was being vulgar, and I just couldn't help myself. I had to scream, and I have to tell him. I mean, I think he knows, but I'm not quite sure he does. Oh, I did. I told them, but I don't think they remember. And regardless, I have to apologize because we share a space. I live in an association, and I should be more mindful. There are nights, though, the attacks are so they're so aggressive that I can't. It's actually beyond my body's chemistry and ability to control. I mean, it's like I'm so intoxicated. It's like this really bad energy, and it just fills up your lungs. And the only way to get it out is if you scream. Literally. You have to scream out those vibrations. And then your environment catches them, and then it leaves this, because it's like this eeriness in the air, and your body does capture that. You just have no idea the energy that we emit. So these terrorists talking in my head are nothing but scumbags. They're rapists, they're pedophiles. They have said over and over, we're going to rape your daughter. In my head. They're talking in my head. They have said this in my head. Now, you can't imagine what it feels like to have to say that on the record, on this record. And to basically, not to own it as if it were my own inner voice, but to have to be responsible to say, this was said in my head. However, it's not me, believe me or not. And if they were to send CPS or institutionalize me, I would have to suck it up and just allow for what needs to be done, so that all these records are compiled, that I have made every effort to present to the public what's going on. And these terrorists in my head they did not back off, and they never tried, they haven't attempted to clear the record themselves to say that no, these are my actual voices, and to present this investigation as a type of a demonstration, instead to demonstrate and show, look at, this is actually happening. And to people who don't know, this is going to sound like this isn't even going to make sense, but to the government agencies and entities and people and just whoever, officials, everyone, and all, and this is like across the globe, to who do know, God, where was I going? Yeah, this is for you. Like I said, they're not bringing it forward, despite every effort I've made to provide to them. They're not going to get away with murder and peacefully protesting, mind you. I'm not, it's not like I'm chasing them down or anything and they're feeling insecure. I am just blatantly saying you guys are getting sentenced to death. And as far as the manner of sentencing, is all dependent on where you are sentenced and who is sentencing you to death, because in Saudi Arabia, they'll decapitate you. So if I said sentencing you to death, it is what it is, yeah, basically. And so, and I just, so I can make it clear. So I'm just saying that is to the epitome of the threats that I have made in regards to the attacks by them using this telepathy technology. And they're laughing like, haha, well, what if you're actually crazy? Like, it's just, they're so stupid. I mean, everybody already knows they're using these telepathy technologies. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. There's a rapper, his name, for the people who don't know, his name is Da Baby. Da in Arabic, sorry. Da means, those are, or this is. Da is actually the singular. This is a baby. And Dul, and he has that song, what is that song called? Going baby. Go in baby. Okay. So baby, okay. If you just manipulate the word just a little, right? And instead of saying baby, you say baby. And let's say you have an accent and you read babe, which is B-A-B-E, but you read it babby. So there are these, like, they use different dialects and ways to alter language. So they can basically subliminally send these messages back to the terrorists talking in my head to say you guys are getting sentenced to death. So for those of you who don't know, who don't understand, I mean, I'll do the best to explain, but there's no way I can, I can attempt, and I can just keep attempting until I can't attempt anymore. Yeah, so that is the singular of this is a baby, da baby, this is a baby, and Dole babies, so his song Going Babies, or Going Baby, and it's an interesting play on words, like go through my door, like you are my son, because they're being schooled, these terrorists are being schooled by the entertainment industry. It's his way of saying, like, I dare you, or basically watch us baby, watch my babies, as in us, going baby, like, like you're gonna go crazy, crazy innocent on, like, in the most innocent, and it's in, sorry, just playing, in the essence of, like, what the tantrum a baby would throw, basically. Like, I guess you can, I don't know, you can read that anyway, you choose. But nonetheless, it's obvious they're talking to them. So he has, on that song, he has an airplane, and on that airplane they're pulling down my lip. There are doll babies, and those doll babies, dole, if you say dole, D-O-L, and let's say, well, it's spelled the way it is, but in Arabic, if you were to say it, right, if someone Egyptian were to read it, they would say dole. Dole, D-O, it still sounds like an O. Dole babies. It means those are babies. So he's emphasizing that they are murdering kids, and that they obviously know, and daring them to basically come anywhere near his network, or even if any of them at this point were to, the ones specifically that I am referring to are Beyonce, who has made it very clear, on several of her tracks, where she has sent out messages where she said Karen being spelled, she spells it Karen, and all in caps, which is interesting because Karen, spelled Cairene, is a native or inhabitant of Cairo, Egypt, or showing the characteristics of their system, governmental system, or whatever. It's a hierarchy, and it's a pyramid, and anyways, so on. You can go look it up. But she says Karens are, going terrorist, and she says derringers. So derringers means, I can't remember what derringers means, but I know it obviously has its own meaning. But if you, again, separate that word, da or D is the feminine of da. So da is masculine, D meaning feminine. Like, this is the ringer. So if you separate the words. And there are other, who else has made, there's so many on every track. There's every song. If you go look on YouTube, look up Karen K mashup. Karen K mashup. They're all verses from different rap songs that are specifically address they specifically were meant to address the terrorist in my head. So they basically created this remix or this collab or whatever it's an album of songs, and each one has a few verses, and those verses are basically to message or send the message to the terrorists, in my head, that they're done. They're getting sentenced to death, and that their circles are going to be investigated with the same means, and if they get sought out on the spot, they will die. So, and they're not joking around about any of it. Obviously. Other suggestions are in one of J. Cole's songs. J. Cole, C-O-L, Cole, D, Cole, means like, well, it's not Cole, it's Cal. What he's trying to say is J. Cal, meaning us Israelites, or us Jews, or us Jews, okay? Because they're out looking for Jews, okay? To steal their intellectual property. He's saying we basically eat. And well, there are the layers to that. eat what, right? Terrorists. And what else? Oh, and in his song with Drake, I forgot the name of it. But in the beginning of the video, it's October 6th, which happens to be my dad's birthday. What are other I don't know. There's so many. Oh, and by the way, they've said that they damaged my sister's pancreas and caused her. That is the reason behind her diabetes, gave her Graves' eye disease, and destroyed her thyroid. Because she is extremely sexy, super intelligent, and she's a triple threat, and wanted to basically hurt her earning potentials so that she can't climb up the ladder to have people to make the money necessary to provide to FEMA and to welfare and Social Security. Ultimately, that's what the terrorists in my head are trying to prevent among the Middle Eastern communities, unless, of course, they're involved in their organization. But anyways, I'm driving, so I gotta go. Have a great day. Bye.